Welcome to Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180 for the absolute positive best in Saturday Talk Radio at 1 o'clock and Saturday at 10 o'clock on 1230 KGEO. For the best in Wednesday Talk Radio, we're on 1410 KERI at 1 o'clock, and now we're in Albuquerque, New Mexico on 1000 KKIM. I'm Marty Pay, and my co-host is Clay Koerner, who's been gone the last couple weeks. Clay, welcome back.
Well, I had to come back for Sally.
Actually, that's exactly it. We scheduled this around so Clay could be here for Sally because this is one of your favorite guests and your favorite topic.
And this is the business I'm involved in is healthcare, and Sally's one of the experts in healthcare.
Yes, and before we talk to Sally, there's something I need to do since we've got Christmas coming up in a couple days. Hold on 1 second here.
All right. What do you got to do there,
Well,
Marty?
I have a little something for you, Clay, for Christmas. Let's see now. Let's paint a picture here. This is a jester's cap, and you can hear the sleigh bells.
All right, let's move on quickly
and
here.
Hit that button right there.
Hit the button. You hear this?
Right there. There's a button.
All right. It's not working.
Oh, it figures. Hold on.
Merry Christmas. All right, so that's the advertisement for our show. Now let's get to business with Sally Pipes.
Taking Care of Christmas with Clay Koerner. Oh, well, last week we had a great show with Bruce Hershenson, who wrote a book called Obama's Globe, talking about foreign affairs. Now, today, we're going to talk a little bit more about domestic affairs, meaning Obamacare, with the president of the Pacific Research Institute, the author of The Pipes Plan and the Truth About Obamacare, Sally Pipes. Sally, welcome back to Taking Care of Business.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's a topic that's still very much in the minds, healthcare reform in the minds of the American people, and it was a gruesome election, but we have to move forward.
So, Sally, you watched the Supreme Court make their determination. What was your reaction and your feeling after Roberts changed his vote or decided to go towards Obamacare?
Well, yes, on June 28th, the Supreme Court came down, and Justice Roberts went, of course, with the liberal side of the court, ruling that the individual mandate was constitutional under Congress's power to tax. And I almost, fainted at my desk or whatever because I was watching it. And he originally said, he started out by saying that, the individual mandate was not constitutional under the Commerce Clause. And I thought, wow, this is just what I'd been hoping for. And then he said, but it is constitutional. And so I was really taken aback by that, and I was very upset by it. I wrote a lot of op-eds, did a lot of radio, but, that was the first. We had the legislation signed into law on March 23rd, 2010. Then this year on June 28th, the Supreme Court. And then, of course, the election on November 6th. So it hasn't been a good couple of years for me in terms of positive developments.
So what's the future for us under this legislation that you see?
Well, I think, we have to, still today, 52% of the American people would like to see this legislation repealed and replaced. And polls are showing that on domestic policy issues, health care is number 2 or number 3 in the minds of the American people. So I want to keep up the drumbeat. We're not going to see the whole law repealed and replaced, as I had hoped and had written the solutions in my book, The Pipes Plan. But I do think there are a number of things that we can do now, and they fall into 3 categories. One are the court cases that are coming up, and we have several. One to do in Oklahoma with the, does the federal government, can they support financially the subsidies for those states that set up federal exchanges, because that wasn't in the law. The second one is the Liberty University case, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, where the U.S. Supreme Court ordered the Fourth Circuit to reconsider the employer mandate and the contraception mandate. And then we've seen the Tenth Circuit look at the contraception mandate and have said in the ruling just yesterday that the court they can't overturn the mandate, but they're asking the Department of Health and Human Services and the administration to revise their ruling on the contraception mandate, ordering people who work in religious institutions, if they don't like this, to have to purchase health insurance. So that's one part. The second part, of course, is repeal of certain parts of the law the Independent Payment Advisory Board, the Medicare 2.3% medical device tax that comes into being on January 1st, 2013. And interestingly, 18 Democratic senators and senators-elect on the Democratic side would like to see that medical device tax repealed. And then we have, of course, the Class Act and the two new Medicare taxes that come into being on January 1st next year, which a lot of people don't realize what that means. The third leg in the stool is the issue of the cost of this Medicaid expansion under the Obamacare, and the second is the 400% of the federal poverty level as the income level for the upper income for the provision of the subsidies. So for individuals that don't have insurance. So there's three parts to my plan, and they're all important. But it's disappointing to me that I was hoping that early next year, with a Republican president, Senate, and House, that we could see repeal and replace, but that's not going to happen.
Our guest by phone, author, president of the Pacific Research Institute, Sally Pipes.
We'll probably be lucky if we can keep the House after the next election also. But you mentioned there's a couple of Medicare taxes in addition to the 2.3% you talked about. What are those other taxes?
Right, so starting on January 1st, there is a 0.9% increase in the Medicare payroll tax for individuals earning $200,000 and couples earning $250,000 a year. So that takes the Medicare payroll tax up to 2.35% for those people. The second is this new Medicare tax on unearned income, interest, dividends, the excess on the value on the sale of your home over what you're exempt, and if you own rental properties. For individuals earning $200,000, couples also $250,000, this is a 3.8% tax. And I think, I've talked about it a lot, but it hasn't really been out there in the public domain. And I think, it's one thing if you live in Fargo, North Dakota, and you earn $200,000, but if you live in New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, an income of $200,000 is not considered, you're not part of the wealthy set. And so a 3.8% tax on this unearned income is going to be, I think, a real shock for people in America.
Now, is that 3.8% on income above the $200,000, or is it on all income starting at zero?
No, that above $200,000.
All right,
so you rise. So say you made $7,000, the tax would be just on the $7,000 if your income level was at $200, not on $207,000.
I see. Wow. And what about Medi-Cal in California?
Well, the court did rule in a 7-2 decision that the federal government did not have the power to force states to expand their Medicaid programs. And of course, in California, the Medicaid program is called Medi-Cal. A lot of states are saying, we have tremendous budget issues, and how can we afford to, expand our Medicaid programs? And so, I think this is going to be a really large issue. But on the other side, the states get anywhere between a half and 2/3 of the funding for the Medicaid program from the feds. So it's very much a conundrum. But I think there's going to be a lot of problems with this. And I think, in California, there's a very large Medi-Cal population. So I think, Jerry Brown has got some huge problems with the deficit in California. They're trying to raise, there will be that increase starting, well, it's actually retroactive to January 2012 as a result of Prop 30, raising the state income tax up to 13.3% for 7 years, going forward 7 years. So I think, I don't think they anticipated how many people and how many businesses will leave the state of California and how many new businesses will not start here because of the tremendous tax burden. And as you probably know, a number of people and businesses have left the state of California, gone to states that are friendly to business like Texas, Nevada, Arizona. And so whatever revenue they're projecting to get from Prop 30, I think it'll probably be a lot less because people will vote with their feet and leave this state.
Well, Prop 30 is actually, I think, 70% is going into the teachers' pension fund.
Right, exactly. That's what they say. Who knows? When government gets hold of our money, you never know exactly where it's going to end up. Oftentimes, when something is designated for something, it doesn't go there. But I think Governor Brown is going to have a really difficult situation on his hand. And he often says, well, the population of the state of California is growing, but what he doesn't focus on is, yes, it's growing with people coming into the state who, live off entitlement programs and live off the hard work and taxes of people who are working, but the people that are leaving the state are the people who are the entrepreneurs who actually create jobs.
And that's happening. When we come back from the break, Sally, let's talk a little bit about an event that's going to happen in Newport Beach. We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180.